Hi, Bernadine. How are you?
Hi Sinead, how are things? Are
Great.
you well?
Not a bother. Thank God. Thanks a million for participating in our
No problem.
interview to kind of share with anyone that's interested in getting involved in the childcare sector.
Okay.
And with leaving certs and everything else, we might get a few more recruits, or we see can we direct them in the supervisor role, or if
Mm,
anyone's thinking about upgrading their own qualifications, etc.
yeah,
So it's great. I know you're busy and everything else, so it's great to
not
have
at
you.
all. No, no problems. Thanks for having us. We're
But
delighted.
that's great.
Yeah,
So Frenchpark it's a community service in County Roscommon.
that's right. Yeah.
And how many children are you cater for there approximately?
Probably I suppose at the moment you're talking maybe about 120, 130, I think will be on the books. But
Mm.
at the moment, I suppose with COVID and everything, some of the more so after schools has probably got a little bit quieter. But it's been look, you kind of see it slowly picking up again.
Great.
Um, but yeah, so about 120, 130.
Wow. And you provide all the funding schemes like NCS, CCSP.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, all funding schemes, and we have from baby room right up to after school. So it's busy. Like the full daycare is it's never been as busy, and big demand for it. And I'd say if you had them rooms over again, you'd fill them.
Wow.
Just the way it is, just a high demand for it at the moment. And the
Yeah.
ECCE is huge for September. Like we've our three sessions here, and the three of them now are filled for September. And I am looking at a fourth session. Now I know it's early days and it's April, and you might have one or two that might pull out and might not, but it's just yeah. So it's busy. It's busy now. Yeah.
That's great. And come
Yeah.
here, how long are you in childcare? Because you've just finished your degree as well, like, haven't you?
I
So
did. I'm in childcare. Oh my God, I'm in childcare a long time. I just feel old because I'm actually meeting
you and me
kids on.
both.
It's terrible. I'm meeting children. They're not children. They're teenagers, nearly, in their twenties now at this stage. On the road, and they're just towering over you, and you're looking. I probably hear 13, 14, 13 years maybe in French Park.
Wow.
And I started out in French Park, and this is where I still am. When I came to French Park, there was no such thing as a qualification. It was literally, I looked for a job and I started the following day. And
Wow.
and that was it. And I done my qualifications then while I worked in the evenings, and I worked it up that way. So big changes obviously since then. That
Yeah.
wouldn't happen today now, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh well. And come here, are you kind of glad that you went on to do, increase your qualifications over the time when you've seen the change that have taken place the last few years?
Yeah, I am actually. And to be honest, when I started first, I had just done my level five, and that's all at the time. I think after, and I think everyone will probably relate to it, after you've finished a level five or a level six, your first reaction is never
Right again.
again.
Oh yeah, I know that's
That
where.
was never
Yeah.
again, because,
Yeah.
and I suppose you just need to give your time, self time to recover, and
Yeah.
then you kind of take into it. But I did the level five, then I decided to do the level six, and then after that, I definitely said never again. And then the opportunity of level seven came up, and I said, it was a year, and why not? Like, give it a go.
Yeah.
It wasn't a walk in the park now by no means.
Oh
It really
no.
wasn't. I know it
Yeah.
was a level
Yeah.
six or level five. There's an awful lot of work attached to it to
Yeah.
get them done, but it's worth it, and it gives you good knowledge, and it kind of gives you a good idea of what you're getting into as well. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad I done it, because then by me getting the level seven, it gave me an opportunity then to, because I was a practitioner, and then it gave me the opportunity to apply for the supervisor's role then, and this is the position I'm in now the last 3 years anyway, 2018. Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
No looking
so
back.
no, no, that's it exactly. Yeah.
So just a few general questions about the service. How long has French Park Childcare been providing childcare within the community there?
It's 2005. So you're 16 years this year.
Wow.
That the FDCL official open was in 2005. That's how long this centre has been
Wow.
operating. Yeah, yeah.
It's great achievement. Like, so there'll be a
Yeah.
big celebration for the 20th anniversary, yeah?
Absolutely. I know. It does actually. The crazy thing is,
Hopefully.
it doesn't seem that long ago since we celebrated the 10 years. Time is going
Yeah.
so quick. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
definitely.
Mad, like, yeah. What has been the biggest change in the provision of early learning and care during this time, do you think?
Well, for me, straight away, like the qualifications coming in, because you could have got staff no more than when I started all those years ago. You could come in and just get a job. Obviously, you interview and everything, but there was no such thing as having a qualification. And when the 2016 regulations came in, that put a lot of pressure, I suppose, on services, because they had people that was there that had to qualify. I suppose then Ashton Shields came in. That was another big change as well. Again, I suppose when I'm looking back from the first day I walked in the door to no real regulations and then to everything. That was another change. Obviously, your inspections, that's that as well, and they're very important and nerve-wracking at times. So I suppose they're the kind of, but I suppose the qualifications was a huge one, because you know, look at, as we all know, it's hard going to get. That's it. But so they were the kind of big changes that I see coming in over the last year to make huge difference. Now, for the benefit, I have to say, you know, if you want to be seen as a professional, you know, you have to
100%.
You have to be on the road that way, and but it's just, it obviously makes things a little bit more difficult because you're trying to recruit and that. But so they're the changes.
That might lead up to one of my next questions after that. But what benefit does having that service in the community bring, do you think, to families, etc., even to people that are employed within the centre?
That's it. Like, there's 37 people employed here in Frenchpark. Wow. You know, it's massive. You know, for such a small little village, it is a massive employment. Like, it's the biggest employer in the village. You know, and in and around about, really, when you think about it. So that's not. But for childcare purposes, like we facilitate for babies right up till national school, and we do breakfast club in the morning. And there's a bus there that picks them kids up and drops them to school, and it allows parents to go to work in the morning before 9 o'clock. And it allows them to stay at work and collect their children at 6. So that's a huge benefit.
Huge benefit.
Absolutely. So, and obviously the childcare into things, and providing that. So that's a huge benefit into the community.
It's great, especially for small, as you say, a small village town, like, to be providing that amount of employment to people that are living there is massive. Like.
Oh, it's great, because I always remember, like, I'm from Frenchpark, and I always remember years ago, I was still in secondary school when I heard about this building, and I'd be straight.
Make me feel really old.
I know, and I was straight, like, when I heard they got funding for a creche in Frenchpark, I was thinking, oh wow, that's fantastic. But my next thought was, where to go to get the children from? In a creche in Frenchpark, would you stop? I swear to God, if you had 2 of them now, you'd fill it. You know, there's lots of little villages like that have their community centres up, and years and years ago, like, that was my thought. It's like, God, I'm taking that back now, because it's fantastic, and it's you wouldn't be without it now. Frenchpark, like, it's brilliant.
Great. And then I suppose, because you've been there so long, like, when you see some of the children coming in so young as babies, and the next thing they're with you, and then they're taking the next developmental step of starting school, and knowing that you've been supporting the previous formative years and months, how do you feel when they're taking off, like, for their next adventure or journey?
You know, it's mad, because as I said to you there earlier on, I'm meeting kids that I had. I always remember, I'll never forget my very first day coming into creche. And I remember walking in the door, and I'll be honest, I had no experience in childcare all those years ago. And I walked in, and it was just kids, and I was like, oh my God. And I remember these 3 little boys, and I remember their names. I know them today. And I remember one of them coming over and saying to me, do you want to play with me? And I was like, yeah. I do actually want to play with you, because I don't know what else to do. So I remember going over, sitting down with these 3 little boys. I think they're 17 now. And one of them little boys was obsessed with diggers and machinery and tractors, and I actually seen him drive up the road there one day in a tractor. He must be working for a contractor, just that he's still in school, but I think he, and it's funny, and when you're doing your observations on these children and you're watching their interests, you know, you're writing about these, and then there's a child down the road from us who used to be in the preschool room. And he used to turn all the pots upside down in the kitchen and start hammering with them, playing drums. Playing the drums. And that child actually is lives near my home house and is in his teenage years as well now, and has a set of drums and is hammering his drums. You can hear him passing the road and I'm going for a walk in the evening. And I'm just like, this is mad. Like, I observed you when you were 3, you're now 15, you know, and you're still, so they're the sort of things, and you kind of go, oh my God. And you're writing about that. You can see that developing them as a 3-year-old, and then it's lovely to see it then when they're older, and you notice that that's what they're interested in, that's what they're still doing, and it's just it's lovely. So it's emotional as well, because then you think, God, I'm getting old, am I?
Don't go there. So what is the biggest thing about your role, do you think, as a supervisor within the service? Is it staff? Is it regulations? Is it funding? What do you think your biggest role is?
For me, I feel as a supervisor here, my biggest role is staff. You know, I'm in a supporting role here. Like the funding, you know, it's looked after. It's, you know, it has to take work. It's, you know, you have to do what you have to do. But with staff, I suppose, you know, different things can turn up or crop up, maybe to do with work or personal. And my role, I just think, is to look after them and ensure that they're okay, and then ensure that they feel supported all the time, and, you know, encouraged to train and so on. I would kind of find that my biggest part here, and we have our one-to-one meetings every 3 months. I try and do that here, and just I suppose just clicking in with them to see how they're getting on, and because you just don't know what's going on in anyone's
personally.
That's what I kind of find my biggest role. Obviously, then there's the fund and then the things that I do as well. But that's, you know, it's straightforward enough. It's such, like, you know, when you get your you have to write down what you have to write down, or you know, apply for the bills. But looking after the staff, I think, is one of my busiest parts of my job here, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, and do you find that is where, like, I suppose going from that as well, is the biggest challenge you face within your role as a supervisor? Is it kind of be with dealing with parents? Is it making sure that, or as you say, supporting that staff member if there's something else going on, or is it making sure that the children are supported in the environment? What would you think is the biggest challenge?
Well, I suppose the challenge is, well, first of all, is challenge, I suppose. Look, at your challenge is to make sure that funding is kept up to date. And I suppose this is a big centre. There's a lot of staff, a lot of children, there's a lot of parents, and you're trying to, I suppose, look after everybody and make sure that everything is going and kept going, like that the funding, you know, the NCS now, chick codes can run out, and people, you know, everyone is working, you know, they're not logging on to see, and it's just ensuring that they have their, you know, they renew codes and make sure that they get it in, because then it lapses, and then, you know, that's not great. And it's just making sure to keep on top of that. I find that difficult, because at times, because there is a lot of children here, and there's, you know, unlike the old scheme, the CCSP, which I know is still there, but it's not as prominent now as the new one. There was a beginning and an end date. With this one now, sometimes it can end in random places, and you know, people might miss out on it. So it's just a challenge to try and keep on top of that, to ensure that they get their funding and they know about it. So, like, a lot of parents who come in here and they don't know about it. And it's just ensuring
it's the separate parent portal, and it's to remind them to check that, I suppose.
Exactly.
It's a lot of extra work as well, as you say. If you could change perception around early learning and care, what would it be? I know my biggest gripe has been glorified babysitter.
There you go. That's what I was going to say.
And I suppose the thing, because of what's happened with COVID the last few months, and I suppose come the year, like, there has been no mention of all the supports that childcare providers have been providing. Like, they've supported essential workers, they've supported children, they've kept more or less, in my opinion, the country going as such. So what's your perception around early learning?
That's what I would just like. Basically, that's what I kind of, because I'd said I was just thinking about that, and I just, to be seen as professionals. Because sometimes I do think the perception, I suppose, when you take COVID, for example, like, there hasn't even been a mention of us getting a vaccination yet, like, you know, and we have been working from right through, and we've taken essential workers, children, and we were happy to do that because we've done our bit. And there's nothing there's no hassle. We're delighted to have been working, and we're delighted. But I suppose just from the point of view that we haven't even been considered for a vaccination yet. And that's, you know, and that again, like, it's the falling back that we want to be seen as professionals.
Yes, there you go.
And you know, and that's it. And if we were, you know, maybe things will be a little bit different. So that's kind of it. And not that, and we're not baby, because we're doing a lot more than, we're not just we're not babysitters, like, you know, it's when you look at all the work that the girls are doing, that, like, they're unreal. You know, they have a room of 22 kids in the full day, or 20 kids in the full daycare room, and in an ECC session it's 22. There's 66 kids here in sessions alone. And all of them children are observed, and all of them children has observations, and there's everything done. All, as I said there earlier, around children's interests. We don't come up with what they're going to do, and we observe what them children are interested in, more than my neighbour, the drummer. You know, I didn't put pots and pans in front of him all those years ago. That was his thing, and that's what I observed. And that's what we do. There's so much more to just, you're seeing what kids are growing, or what they possibly could grow into, because you're watching them. And, you know, it takes time to write up for these and get out of the room, but also give them 100% attention as well. Like, and, you know, it's just be nice to be seen a bit more than just, I suppose, a babysitter, because that's definitely what we are, you know.
So then this leads into the next one then. What advice would you give to someone thinking of pursuing a career in childcare, or early learning, or school-age childcare?
Look, it's children are just, they're gas. Like, you know, that's the first thing. If anyone wants to, really would like to pursue a career, I would definitely get your qualifications. Go and do it. Even if you wanted to do your degree, do it. Now, just because you come out with a degree doesn't mean you're going to walk into you know what I mean, a manager's role or something like that, because you know, you need experience as well, because you can have degree in that, and it's important to get it, but you can't beat experience either, you know. But as well as that, get experience and make sure that it's the profession you want, and make sure it's the profession you want to be in, because it is difficult. It has now, you'll never leave a day without laughing. The child will always say that, just there'll always someone say something, and you're just like, even if you're having a bad day, you just have to, a child will come up and they say something, you're like, oh my God, that's funny.
And that's and I suppose the other thing is as well, as you say, with experience, you might think you're a baby person and working in a baby room, but when you're in there, when you're there from 9 to 6, it's full on, and you're responsible for that. Whereas if you're in the preschool, it's different. It's curriculum, it's emerging interests, it's play. Like, so it's, as you say, experiences.
That's it. It is. It's very true that you say that. You think that, you know, because every age group is so different. Like, you know, and some people, as you said, could be baby people, or thought they were, until they got down there, and then there's 6 of them, and they all want their naps changed the one time, and they all are, you know, one of them has to sleep, and the other one is in the cough room, and that one won't sleep. and it's busy, you know. It's busy. And then obviously the preschoolers, they're completely different. But obviously I've always found that the preschoolers, when they got that bit older, they just wanted their own space as such. Like, I'm playing with my friends, and we're having tea. I remember one time in the kitchen they were in, and she's like, go over now and get a cup of tea here. I sat down and they all just walked away, and I was like, right. That's okay, I'll make my own tea. They just left, and that was it. And I was told, that's another thing I love about kids, like, they're straight to the point, you know. They don't want you there, they'll let you know. There's no such thing, you know.
You wonder why we change as we get older, like, you know, like when you can say
that's it. They're so brutally honest.
Oh,
stop their gas. No, it's funny.
Yeah, that's great. And okay, so final question. If you had a one-to-one meeting with Minister O'Gorman, you know, Minister for Children, and he was to grant you one request, what would that request be?
I think I'd love to see better pay for the staff. I really would, because they work so hard here, and they're so good. And that's what I'd like to see, is better pay for them. That's what I'd like to see, because they do work hard, and it's not an easy job.
No.
And they deserve to just be a little bit more, to the living wage, like, would be nice.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, I can't guarantee I can pass that or grant that wish on, but I can share this. And thanks a million, Bernadine.
No problem.
It's been really, really good to have just a chat as such, and to be able to show this, I suppose, next week and stuff that, people will relate to it, and I really appreciate it. So
thanks a million. Take care. Bye-bye.